Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to this morning's discussion on how data science is advancing in the commodity trading industry. I'm Howard Walper, and I head up the America's arm of Commodities People, the international event and information company focused on trading, risk management, digitalization, and sustainability information and events for the energy and commodity sector. This morning's webinar is the last of this month's Digicom series of webinars. If you missed our other webinars on CTRM development, data-driven sustainability, exploring new digital business models, these will be soon posted on our Commodity Trading Insider page, which is commoditytradingweek.com/insider. Before we get started, a few quick housekeeping notes. We're going to be taking questions throughout this session, so if you do have some questions, enter them into the Q&A box, not the chat box. We're going to get to as many as possible in the time we have. Do be aware this presentation and all of the questions are being recorded for future rebroadcast. So now, before we get started, I'd love to have everybody here maybe go around the table and introduce yourself. So let's start with Raj.
Hi, my name is Raj Rapaka. I'm in the digital transformation role at ExxonMobil. Initially, I was in upstream, and now I'm in reporting to downstream, covering our trading operations.
Sounds good. And Sajindra?
Hi, thanks for first inviting me to the session, Howard. Yes, my name is Sajindra Jayasena. I'm the CIO for Targray, based out of London. Targray is a diversified multinational commodities trading house based in Montreal, based in a few countries. Before that, I worked as a CTO for commodities trading and risk management platform for 4 years. And before that, played a few CTO roles at Deutsche Bank here in London, particularly the investment bank and the corporate bank sector.
Wonderful. And last but not least, the man in front of the flag, Cade Burks. Cade, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, Howard. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Good seeing you. I am two roles. One is I am vice chair at NASB, the North American Energy Standards Board, and we are an ANSI-accredited standards development organization that has developed about 2,000 standards in the wholesale gas, wholesale electric, and retail gas electric markets. So I have some comments related to NASB. And then also I am Chief Digital Officer here at Big Data Energy Services. So thanks again for having me.
No, you're very welcome. We're going to start with Raj today. First, Raj, I got to thank you. Raj agreed to come on fairly last minute on this event to really give us a perspective from where he sits, which is at ExxonMobil, is a very impressive organization. So thanks so much for jumping in on this. I know you have to leave us a little bit early. The rest of the conversation will be more discussion focused, but let's let you get your points in, since I know you have to take off a little early. So first of all, Raj, you handle many of ExxonMobil's digital transformation projects. So I think it's safe to say you're on the cutting edge of the industry. What sort of projects are you getting involved with?
Yeah, thanks, Howard. And again, glad to be here. I didn't get a chance to say that. Again, the breadth depends on the role I'm playing, but I have moved around to different organizations, so I can speak on digital transformation effort on various fronts. So other thing I did not mention is I'm a part-time member of the venture capital arm of ExxonMobil, and also lead coordinate and lead the company's efforts around blockchain. So with that, I typically sit at the intersection of projects that involve operations, technology, and economics. So using technology to improve our operations in a way that kind of moves the needle. So my background is in engineering and finance, and with the consulting stint thrown in and a commodities trading stint thrown in, and all kinds of weird mixes. But essentially my passion is business transformation, and so the roles I sit in involve that one. So that's my perspective. What kind of digital transformation projects? It's involves, obviously, we started the journey 5 years ago with understanding what is digital transformation, and that seemed to be the buzzword at that point. And from then it has evolved into, okay, everything to do with data, and how can data help us in our, whether it is decision making or getting insights, or really improving our operations. So in that journey, the upstream angle is different compared to some of the trading angles. So that's kind of the space I sit in, and the project involved everything from connecting to data all the way to insights, which is standard parlance now. So I don't, if we have a specific area I can focus on, happy to take that. Otherwise, that's the type of
Well,
projects
since we're focusing a lot on data science in this webinar, let's start with this. Most digital transformation or business transformation projects are by nature data intensive. ExxonMobil is the very definition of a large company. What are some of the challenges you face in actually finding, sourcing data, things like that?
Yeah, I think one of the first challenges is knowing the data exists. So I'll split it into two pieces. One is external data and second is internal data. External data is external to the company, where we can ingest from various sources, whether it is weather data, whether it's market data, you name it, alternative data, things like that, right? So so when you split it that way, the challenges externally are knowing this data exists, saying, okay, how, and figuring out proxies for the data that you want to ingest. Like, hey, I don't have this data, but how do I become more intelligent and competitive by knowing more? Internally, the problem is a bit more around integration and stuff, where you have all these different systems, especially in a large company, a lot of legacy systems, a lot of systems that are not connected. So how do I start connecting them? How do I, what do you call it, make sense of it? How do I get into a common format? How do I curate it? How do I get to insights faster, right? So between those two, the challenges are slightly different, external versus internal. Internal, obviously, yeah, we are a large company, but we have the same challenges as any large company. We have different business units. We have a central unit. How do I harmonize priorities across? How do I make all of them point to the same vector, if you will, not in different points of time? So those are the type of challenges, main categories.
Actually, you mentioned some of the prioritization points. Any thoughts on balancing sort of long-term vision of digital transformation with the day-to-day use case needs, and give us maybe some insight on how you shepherd a project like this through a large company?
Yeah, and I'll borrow from people more wiser than I am. Essentially, I like to when I get into a role, I like to divide the asks into what I call the painkillers and the vitamins. Painkillers are what people want right now, and they're not willing to listen to you on your vitamins or your preaching as to where we want to go until you deliver their regular firefighting stuff for them, right? So you say, okay, tell me what all you need, and then you kind of go through a list of projects and say, okay, this is what is happening, this is what's sucking up your time, this is what is really frustrating you. So we go through that, kind of do a root cause analysis, fix those, and then you create capacity in the existing organizations. And then and not only do you create capacity, you also create credibility for yourself. Okay, you have delivered this for me. What else do you have up your sleeve? And that's when you go into the digital transformation piece. If you try to come in with a digital transformation mindset and start preaching the cutting edge technologies out there, or something competitor is doing, the initial credibility is lost. So it's almost a methodical approach to go through the projects. One for a discovery phase of it. Second is establishing your credibility. Then kind of dividing into phases. Okay, which one do I want to attack first? How do I create capacity? Versus going into digital transformation and really upping the ante over there.
And I guess one more question, if you have time, Raj. On the technology front, what trends are you seeing in the area of analytical tools?
I think at some point these start to kind of become hazy, and it takes a lot of time to look at the different tools. Okay, what is really different? What is incremental about this tool versus what we already have? Obviously, when we get into AI, every company has a word AI in it. Every company has a word machine learning in it. Every company says, okay, we can connect to all data. Everybody says, we are a data factory. We can ingest from anything. We can get you the visualizations you need. Okay, what exactly is different? I think it's with the proliferation of companies in the space, it becomes harder and harder. And who's uh, so that one of the trend is the proliferation itself. Second is the lack of clarity in the delta between companies. It's really getting hard. On one side, you don't want to miss an exciting company. On the other side, you don't want to spend too much time going over the same thing over and over again with different. Oh, your use case is slightly different, where you get your starting point is different, but essentially what you're doing is the same. So that becomes harder. And internally to Exxon, we have picked up on a bit more on the blockchain piece of it, because blockchain we see as an external workflow solution, if you will. A lot of projects that we do internally are how can we do things, geology better, reservoir engineering better, drilling better, operations better, and things like that. But in the external facing space, how we exchange data and how we get to the single source of truth, we are increasingly doing projects in that space. And on the tool side, I could go on and on, but I mean, you can go to Vendor Expo and look at the tools, whether it is on the mid office side or the front office side. It's just every day it's a new one. So it's hard to pinpoint one that is really earth shattering, so.
Well, Raj, I know you got to jump. If you want to dig into this a little bit more with Raj and get more into data, he will be speaking at our Energy Trading Week conference, which is coming up next week. Kate will actually be there too. So we hope to see a lot of you there. So Raj, let's thank you very much for attending. You're welcome to stay on as long as you'd like, but I know you got to get to a meeting.
Thank you very much. I may stick around for 5-10 more minutes, and after that I'll leave.
Perfect. Well, so going forward, we're going to have this as a fairly conversational format. So I'm going to direct some questions to various folks, but everyone, please do feel free to just jump in and share your thoughts. So Kate, let's start with you a little bit. What sort of projects do you get involved with at Big Data Energy Services, first of all?
Well, we have a wide variety, and obviously they all deal with data. To talk to Raj's point about blockchain distributed ledger, we're doing a project in the natural gas area now, in the buying and selling of nat gas using distributed ledger. It's funded by the Department of Energy, so we're really excited about what can be done. We're doing that in conjunction with NASB because they're ANSI accredited organization, and it's real balanced. And so the solution has to be something that's good for the entire industry. So we feel like that's a good best approach for delivering to our producers and our pipelines and the consumers, the generators of that. We also have projects a couple of big projects in Calgary, in Alberta, where we're in those retail electric and gas markets. We have a bunch of clients coming into the ERCOT market. Seen a lot of cryptocurrency mining going on in Texas, and so they can turn on and turn off their data centers depending on the price of electricity. So there's a lot of data in and around that. So, but I think that those are the gist of them. We're in, but the distributed ledger one, blockchain one is one I'm most excited about, and we're expanding that one too to start covering certified gas. So there's many different names for responsibly sourced, whatever, depending on which certifier. But that's the next phase in our efforts there.
So you and I have spoken many times over the years about various issues around data. But why don't you talk about what you mean by operationalizing data?
Well, the operational, our clients have really good data scientists and analysts, but if they spend too much time getting the data, curating the data, as Raj said, then it takes away from their work on the algorithms and the analysis. And so our mission is to be able to grab that data. Many times it's external sources, bring that data in and make sure it meets the service levels of the data scientist group. And so that meaning that, hey, is this a 5-minute feed every 5 minutes? And if it breaks, here's what you do. Or is this a feed that just happens every month or two, but it's real important to have it at a certain point and we don't want to miss it or it goes away. So there's all sorts of operationalized monitoring and measuring in place to make sure the streams of data meet the service levels of our clients. So,
and what are some of the technologies you use to manage that? And
well, we're 100% cloud-based. I think there's a use for both Google and Microsoft and AWS. Majority of our stuff is on AWS, so we do enjoy looking at all the different tools that are available there. There's a lot of tools as a service, so you can be running data primarily in Amazon, and then but using the tools out of Microsoft and Google, and just it's a free flow. As far as our clients, they use probably Power BI, Logi Analytics, Tableau. AWS has got SageMaker, which is getting some traction for AI. And then, of course, Google has all those analytics tools available as well. We stay pretty agnostic to what our clients are using from an AI perspective. We just want to make sure that we can get them the data in place. As far as databases, we move around on or stores or however, depending on what our clients' needs are.
So you've mentioned your the blockchain program that you're working on with NASB. Can you tell us a bit about some of the any of the challenges you have with the data for that project, and maybe how you've overcome them?
Well, it's a great application for the business problem is suited for distributed ledger, because we have a seller of the natural gas, we have a buyer of the natural gas, and the way that it gets between the two is a third party, a pipeline, and there are 150 interstate pipelines. There's intrastate pipelines that have different standards, and so the quantity might be traded at, say, 10 million BCF a day, but when you start delivering it, the pipeline will make cuts or different allocations, and so it might not be the exact same amount. And so having that single source of truth helps put those differences or imbalances or different allocations up to immediately. So today what happens is the seller or the producer of the gas has to communicate to the pipeline and figure out, okay, how much did I went in, and then the buyer has to look and say, okay, how much did I take out, and works with the pipeline. And so when they do the invoice at the end of the month, because it's done monthly, it can be a pretty big reconciliation. And if it's big amounts like an Exxon or TVA, Tennessee Valley Authority, somebody who's got lots of pipelines, lots of big amounts, it's significant dollars, and it's just a hard reconciliation problem. And I think that was the problem statement that we started with at NASB when we looked at the distributed ledger as a potential, is that today the invoice typically travels via an email as a PDF attachment, so it's got a lot of automation opportunities there, and having that single source of truth allows you to do quite a bit additional functionality, but it isn't something that you can just turn on. It's got to evolve. So it evolves from pipelines have bulletin boards, pipelines have EDI transactions. How's the best way to communicate to get this data? Each pipeline does it slightly different. So I think there's a good opportunity for application of distributed ledger in the natural gas supply chain.
I saw Raj nodding. I think that that means he's felt the pain of this before too. So it's a good topic to bring up. Raj, did you want to say something? Okay. Move over.
No, I mean,
Please.
Oh, I was just sending a private chat to Kay that we should connect regarding blockchain for energy on this one. Yeah, so nothing much.
Well, Sajindra has been waiting very patiently up in my upper left corner of my screen there. So as the I know you bring a really interesting perspective here. So as the CIO of a trading company and someone who's been the CTO of a CTRM company, which areas do you think machine learning, AI are best suited? Is it only in trading, or do you see this adopted in many different areas?
I think that's a very good question, Howard. I think it can be applied all across the board on the value chain, front to back. So if it starts with more traditional, where we can apply data science to get more insights on the trading aspects, how we get more arbitrage aspects, whether it's location, price, or other aspects of arbitrage. Started using non-traditional data sets like environmental, social governance, ESG data sets, spatial data sets, maps, etc. So all this generates different types of data feeds and also analytical models. So definitely data science, particularly deep learning models, are primarily used in understanding opportunities and arbitrages that you would not foresee in traditional means. So definitely trading opportunity identification, price prediction, price analytics. It's a definite area. I have seen used machine learning and data science models are being used. And then also I've seen within the client relationship management space, the significant usage of data science as well. How you optimize and recommend different relationships based on the previous trade history, transaction history, and recommend possibilities based on previous the deals that you have done, looking at more of analytics, maybe like pattern matching options, and figuring out, okay, this is a good pattern match, and this is more arbitraging opportunities you can pitch on. And then on the coming back from tradings to operations, I definitely see there is opportunity with respect to how you improve the bottom line. How you perform cost and logistics optimization, particularly if you're in physical commodities, you move, store, process a lot of commodities. So how we optimize scheduling operations, I don't know if it's physical rails, doesn't matter, shipping, and how we actually optimize. Traditionally, we have used constraints programming, dynamic programming, and linear programming methodologies. Now we have started using how can use reinforcement learning and other data science topics to optimize and best schedule. And also on the operations, I think one of the key areas is automation. How we can use data science, machine learning to think differently, and how you bring in digital workers instead of human workers. So for example, how you process physical documents through digital agents, extract information automatically, process those rather than a lot of humans. Commodities compared to, I came from investment banking background for 9 years. So the maturity of some of the processes, I think some of the commodity industry is still picking up. So there's a lot of automation opportunities I see in the commodities industry. Still, you interact with a lot of stakeholders, very technically mature versus not technically mature. So there's a lot of manual handholding of documentation. So how you utilize intelligent document tooling, processing tooling. And also going back further,
Sorry about that.
So,
Go ahead.
yeah, and also I think other areas like surveillance and credit risk management, there's other areas like how you find like anti-money laundering, surveillance, good surveillance, and even credit risk exposure, how you analyze and predict deviations in the credit exposure from past history. And I think finally, even on the risk side, I've seen teams using non-traditional, let's say, risk modeling to more data science-based risk modeling and risk simulation. And then at the end, finance, how you look at profitability analysis based on different trading operations. I think there's a lot of opportunity, but of course, you have to select the right tooling, right models, right approach. It's not trying to find a problem for a solution. So for a solution for problems perspective, I think that's the key. Yes, you can adopt, but it's the key and how we apply that. I think that's more important.
Makes a lot of sense. Talk about some of the approaches that are being used in AI and machine learning right now. Are they good enough? I mean, an example, statistical AI needs a lot of data and can be skewed based on the data we input to models. Actually, someone, I think it was in the last webinar, they were just talking about algorithmic HR hiring, where where they realized they had the biases of the HR department programmed in to the algorithm. So maybe talk about a little bit how that applies to AI and machine learning.
Yeah, I think as I said in the previous question, it's about trying to find the solution to the problem. And it's more importantly, I think we don't give that much of prominence. We talk about data science. I mean, as computer scientists and engineers, our commodity is data. That's what we process, refine, store, and move. I think sometimes we focus more on the refining and the processing side, but not the actual extraction, excavation, and identification side. So we put less prominence on the data engineering and the feature engineering aspect. So we just want to avoid garbage in, garbage out at the end. As you said, the skewness of the data, the variety of the data, the portfolio and the representation of the data is really key because that's what it would train the system. It doesn't matter whether it's a statistical model or deep learning model or even reinforcement learning model. The system learns based on the environment and the data that's been put. So I think one of the things I have seen is the challenge and the focus that needs to be put on the feature engineering. I mean, there are different techniques people use, imputation, like discretization, quantitative scaling, different types based on whether it's numeric data or categorical data. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges I have seen to avoid this garbage in, garbage out problem and avoid skewness has been a big area of focus in my previous engagements as well, to make sure. I think Kate touched as well how we can give cleaner data, curated data. That's quite key. And the other aspect is I think AI has gone through a few winters in the last maybe like 40, 50 years. Most of the methodologies we use, like statistical AI, was I think founded in 1950s, and reinforcement learning I think in 70s or 80s, if I memory is correct. Of course, it had a nice exponential growth with the adoption of cloud technologies and tooling and additional processing power. But I think, yes, at that part, I think that's a good progress. What I've seen is with more data, you need more power as well, processing capabilities as well. So the focus should be how can we get more insights with less data per se as well. So I've seen companies focusing on reinforcement learning as well, agent model where you in game theory or robotic automation as well. So moving towards that beyond the traditional, let's say, supervised machine learning. I think those are some of the things I have seen that is ongoing and people are adopting.
That's good. And Kate, you looked like you wanted to jump in on some of those data part of the question. Was there anything you wanted to add to that? You were looking a little antsy over there.
Oh no, it's good. I was looking at the some of the Q&A questions, so I was sorry jumping ahead.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, we taught you passing notes in class earlier, so you got to make sure you're there. We will get to some of the Q&As that are coming in, but just one more question on AI and how is it working in the commodity industry in general? Is it an area of finding a problem for a solution? Is it chasing a buzzword?
Yes.
How to apply this for real life problems?
I think Raj alluded to that as well. It's again how you prove continuously that AI works. So rather than looking at, okay, we are looking at a nice AI model. Let's say for a trading strategy, I'll come back in like one AI. It's about, at the end, it's proof is the pudding. So you need to start with a very basic fundamentals. I mean, even in fintech terms, we all use the term minimal allowable product. Okay, the first product should be started loving by the users themselves. So where should we start? What's the base problem? With the agile mindset, how can we look at implementing a walking skeleton, a thin slice of front to back solution? Work with the business users, because at the end it's technology and business, because subject matter experts are really important. They know, it's like you're talking to a physician to figure out, okay, can you figure out sickness based on some observations? Of course, the physician knows the best. So involvement of the SMEs and the technology is really key to make sure that the business side and the technology side works well, and formulating that problem statement and prove really quickly and really fast, and keep on iterating. So I think with the right agile mindset, prove fast, fail fast sort of a model, I think that's work. Doesn't matter if it's a commodity industry or not. I think of the commodity industry per se, there's, I think, a lot of opportunity. The amount of data generated is quite significant, whether it's economic data, non-economic, geographic data that relates to commodity excavation, exploration, movement. I think that all that's in a bigger data problem that definitely needs to be requiring non-human interaction, processing power, and modeling. So I think there's a good opportunity and openings within the commodity to adopt AI in the right way. As I said, not trying to find a problem to a solution, but rather, okay, how to find a solution to a specific problem.
Yeah, Howard, I could add to that. With that example I gave earlier about buying and selling gas and then transporting it, that's been something that since people have been trying to optimize, how do you get the gas from the field to the end use consumer optimally? And that has a lot of different types of data. So there's the pipeline tariffs. That would, if you get all the pipeline tariffs, which are typically 700 pages worth of data, 800 pages, get that in a digitalized format so you know which is the best way to route. The capacity of the pipelines have an impact on that. The whether you're buying gas firm or non-firm, and having the different ways of moving the data. And the other thing is the maintenance. Sometimes those pipelines are being maintained. They go under maintenance outages, and some are planned and some are unplanned. And then the thing that really causes a lot of issues, and there's a FERC NASB effort going on right now on gas electric harmonization, is the seasonality of that. If you're running in the winter time, you might be running the generators more for heat. In the summertime, you're running it more for air conditioning. But then when we had Winter Storm Uri here February a year ago, that caused those shortages caused a huge amount of problems for ERCOT and the Southwest Power Pool, some of those, because they didn't have enough data to figure out what was going on and how they would do balancing of the grid. And so I think AI and machine learning, that's a perfect application. It's hard to step into just little bits because you've got lots of data, and you need in the ERCOT's got a big old has a big footprint. So Southwest Power Pool. There's lots of pipelines going through there. There's lots of generators. So I think that's an application that is or perfect application for AI and machine learning is in that particular area. And if you haven't read the FERC-NERC report, it's out there. Just Google it. It's published on the FERC deal. So it is 300 or 400 pages, but you can see the problems and you can see where a digital twin type solution that had AI and machine learning in it would certainly help that situation.
We've got some great questions in from the audience for the last 8 minutes or so, but before that, I do want to say that someday we really just got to do an entire webinar of you just saying FERC-NERC over and over again. It's fun to listen to. All right, let's talk about AI a little bit more. What are the pitfalls when you look at building AI products, commodity trading? You mentioned one is the skewed data issue, but maybe elaborate a little bit more on what should we look out for?
If I may start, yes. So I think one of the main pitfalls in commodity trading, I think it's again the veracity and the diversity of the data sets you're looking at. How we're figuring out. I'm just looking at the question is on commodity trading. It's pretty much on the trading side. So how do you find insights from diverse and alternate data sets? And alternate data sets can be completely like structured, unstructured, and completely vague. Like can be spatial data, geographical data, satellite data, weather data. It can be anything. And so that requires significant effort of curating, processing, understanding the feature sets, how we accept the right features that are independent or maybe related. There's some certain aspect of correlation and less covariance. Those aspects are really key. So I think understanding and interpreting and extracting the feature sets so that it will give some meaningful relationship to the labels and what you're trying to find is I think is a biggest challenge as far as I have seen. Maybe Kate has a different opinion, but the bigger the diverse the data, the bigger the problem of figuring out how to get value out of that data.
Yeah, I would probably add on to that as well with the data governance of in and around who is providing it. So pricing is a really interesting topic. I know there was a couple of years ago, there was a large generator within ERCOT, large generation group, and they unfortunately unplugged their communications to ERCOT. And so ERCOT reacted to the fact that 10,000 megawatts just went offline when it wasn't offline. It had just lost communication. And so it had a big effect on price. 20 million, I think, and it was only 3-minute outage. But then ERCOT was like, no, we're not going to change anything. That's just the way it is. So some of the data problems associated with that is, okay, now I'm going to do it for next year. How do I forecast or use any of that pricing data? Do I fix it the way it should be, or do I because it was sort of an artificial outage. And then fast forward to today, ERCOT's changing, does have a tendency now after Winter Storm Uri to say, oh, this pricing wasn't correct. I'm going to correct it in the long term. So I think data governance and how an organization that provides some of that public information it's critical, like pricing or consumption generation handles it, and then how the AI and machine learning models deal with that is critical. So
that sounds good. Another question that came about data privacy. Can you ensure, and Kate, I know this is something you're very concerned with, how can we ensure data privacy using services like AWS, SageMaker, et cetera?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And it is something that with cybersecurity, you have to keep asking it and doing that. So with AWS or with any of the cloud providers, the approach that we've taken is how do we secure the data with an encryption that the keys are not with the cloud provider. So they're not stored with the cloud provider, they're stored elsewhere, and we can use to encrypt it. But that's difficult to do, particularly when the more and more tools as a service come along, and SageMaker is a good example. If you use Power BI from the web service for Microsoft, same if you're not running it in internal. But what our approach has been is to encrypt the data using methods that does not allow anyone that was with AWS. That is a topic. I have a meeting with AWS on Friday, and that's one of the topics on one of the tools. So it's a really good question.
We're coming up on the end of our time. We can go an extra 5 minutes or so if you guys want. Do you have time to go an extra 5-10 minutes? If
We're good. Yeah.
Wonderful. So we'll continue taking some of these from the floor. Kate, are you good schedule wise?
Sure.
All right, great. This one I know one of Kate's answers is the gas settlements, but what areas of the post-trade commodity life cycle are ripe for data disruption?
So if I start, I think from a trading house point of view, so this is pretty much talking about operations, risk and finance, the enabler functions, how they adopt AI. I think from an AI point of view, I think the main focus area is automation, how you get best out of the buck and without increasing the employees and the time spent from a manual operations point of view. So how you digitalize the operations processes, not just by using traditional systems like CTRM or ERP stack, but also how you digitalize document processing, how you de-physicalize the document processing through digital agents, extract information out through AI models, bots, using intelligent bots. I think that's one of the key areas I think most of the commodity companies spend to de-physicalize the document processing. And the other area I have seen is pretty much on the risk, credit risk and the surveillance side, where you look at how you can use sometimes reinforcement learning and deep learning models to look at risk modeling, risk scenario modeling, market volatility assessment, and prediction models. I've seen that those areas been utilizing significant amount of AI technologies from my experience perspective.
Kate, any thoughts?
Yeah, one area that we've looked at and studied with the Department of Energy on the distributed ledger is the time that the credit worthiness and how much credit risk you have around a trading partner is very extended to natural gas, because it's you run the whole month and you get the invoice by the 10th of the month, and then you pay the invoice by the 25th. Those are standards that have happened for decades. So, but if you start using distributed ledger, you can settle after a day or 3 days or 5 days, but a lot quicker. You don't have to wait from the first of the month the gas flowed all the way to the 25th of the month, which is 55 days of float. And so there's a lot of opportunities for speeding that process up and applying some of these tools. The quicker you speed it up and you get the data, you can certainly can do the analytics on it quicker as well. So
sounds good. Question came in about unstructured data. How can trading houses leverage unstructured data to gain market insight? Boy, Kate, that sounds like it came right out of your brochure, man. Why don't we let you start on that one?
Well, it is a difficult challenge, but I think some of the areas that I think the one unstructured one that is ripe for usage that in the nat gas areas, those pipeline tariffs, and how do you take a FERC pipeline tariff that's 700-800 pages and crunch it down into usable formats. That's a great application. And then each one, the unstructured, each one of those have to come up to, or the approach we've taken is come up with a subset or the amount of data that you need. I mean, capture it all, but here's what we're going to need to solve the immediate problem, so that you have more of some quick wins on it, so that executives, the C-levels can see, okay, this is good. We need to continue to do more and more. So if you set and try to do maybe the old data warehouse kind of deal, where it's like, I'm going to have all this unstructured data and I'm going to put it all in this data warehouse and I'm going to spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on it. Those have a harder time to hit payback. So I suggest the smaller bites of the unstructured, get it in, show some benefits, and then add as you can.
That's good. So Jindra, did you have something to?
Definitely. Just to build on what Kate said, I think there are two steps with respect to processing or like utilizing unstructured data. It's like how you can use AI and machine learning to extract data. It's more of extract and refinement question. So how do you use AI to extract data out of unstructured? So unstructured, it can be like geospatial data. It can be a document. How you extract information can be the sentiments, the semantics rather than what's been mentioned in the document. How you extract that? That's more of a, I think, relative like pattern matching algorithms and AI techniques that used to identify and extract the meanings of the data, and then of course how you utilize that data to build models. So like natural language processing tools that have been there for a long time. So how can you use NLP tooling to extract value and semantics out of data, and then how can you transform that to a structured data set, more pattern matching data set? I think, yes, definitely those are the areas that can be focused with respect to using unstructured data sets.
Wonderful. You know, that's about all the time we have today. I think we've gone through all our questions, and I want to thank both of you guys, Sajidra and Kate, for doing this morning. I really deeply appreciate it. Also, thanks to Raj, who had to leave a little bit early, but you know, it's always such an interesting experience to be able to get the perspective from a group like ExxonMobil as well. So we're about out of time. I hope you enjoyed this session. I want to say a big thank you first to our speakers, but also to some of the behind the scenes folks. And they may kill me for this, but Samantha and Gina, why don't you turn your cameras on for a second? Come on. I think the ladies are hiding back there. Okay. Well, Samantha is our producer. She put together this whole series of webinars this month. She also, there she is. She also puts together our Commodity Trading Week conferences. So, you know, just to put a face to the name when this woman is calling you, you're being recruited to speak by the best. So, Samantha, thank you very much for your hard work on this.
Thanks,
and
Howard.
Gina, I'm assuming you're just not going to do it. You're not going to turn your camera on?
I just don't think my background's suitable enough.
Okay, sounds good. Gina just bought her first house, and she's got ladders and doors in the back of her. So I think she's just been a little conscious of that. But Gina is our operations manager. So a lot of the communications you get on our conferences, you know, making sure everything works, that's all Gina. So anyhow, if you haven't, I think that, so thank you to you guys. Also, for those of you in the energy space, Energy Trading Week Americas is coming up in just over a week here in Houston, Texas, October 27th and 28th. It's really shaping up to be a fantastic event. We've got more than 500 people already registered, and just they're pouring in every day. We've got about 70 speakers discussing trends in oil, gas, generation fuels, renewables markets, energy risk management, net zero initiatives. We even have a track dedicated to LNG markets. So, we'd love to see a lot of you there. If you work for a qualified energy company, you can attend for free. So if you're involved in, in energy trading or digitalization for a trading company, please do sign up at energytradingweek.com. Once again, thank you very much for attending. My name is Howard Walper with Commodities People, and I hope you all have a great day.
Okay, thanks a lot, Howard.
Thank
Thanks for
you.
inviting us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Howard.
Bye-bye.
Appreciate it.